September 27th here in Seoul, and I'm Kim Dan. We begin with these stories making the headlines at this hour. Starting with the escalating conflict between Israel and Hezbollah. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says his military will continue to fight in full force against Hezbollah, rejecting the international community's call for a 21-day ceasefire across the Lebanon-Israel border. South Korea and Japan are holding their first talks since 1985 over the joint development of an underwater continental shelf believed to hold deposits of oil and other natural resources. The Yoon administration has launched a national committee for artificial intelligence to turn South Korea into one of the top 3 leading nations in the technology. We have an exclusive interview with the Presidential Secretary for AI and Digital to tell us what to expect from this new committee. We start in the Middle East. Amid fighting between Israel and Hezbollah, Israel said it will continue to fight in full force in Lebanon, dismissing the U.S. and its allies' calls for a ceasefire. Park Gun reports.
Fears of a possible full-scale war between Israel and Lebanon-based militant group Hezbollah escalate as Israel shows its firm stance to fight, despite the U.S. and its allies calling for a ceasefire.
We are continuing to hit Hezbollah with full force, and we will not stop until we achieve all our goals. First and foremost, returning the residents of the north safely to their homes.
Another Israeli airstrike in the Lebanese capital Beirut on Thursday local time killed at least 2 people and left 15 wounded, according to Lebanon's health ministry. The commander of Hezbollah's aerial command, Mohammed Surur, was reportedly killed during the attack. And more Israeli strikes were made on Thursday in Lebanon, resulting in 92 people dead and over 150 wounded. Though Hezbollah hasn't yet commented about the calls for a ceasefire, it also attacked Israel with multiple rocket launches on Thursday. On the same day, Israel also conducted a military exercise to prepare for a potential ground invasion in Lebanon. Meanwhile, the U.S. and its allies have called for a ceasefire between Israel and Hezbollah. The proposal for an immediate 21-day ceasefire to allow negotiations between Israel and Hezbollah was made during a statement at the UN General Assembly on Wednesday. Since the escalation in Israeli strikes on Hezbollah on Monday, nearly 700 people have been killed in Lebanon. Israel and Hezbollah has been striking each other almost daily since October 7, when the Israel-Hamas war began. Park Gun, Arirang News.
Nearly $8 billion in military assistance will be provided to Ukraine. This was according to U.S. President Joe Biden on Thursday, ahead of a bilateral meeting with his Ukrainian counterpart at the White House. Isung Jasmore.
As Ukraine continues to push ahead with its offensive into Russian territory while also defending its own, the U.S., its biggest supporter financially, has agreed to send more assistance. Ahead of his meeting with Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky at the White House on Thursday local time, U.S. President Joe Biden announced that nearly $8 billion in military aid.
Right now we have to strengthen Ukraine's position on the battlefield. And that's why today I'm proud to announce a new $2.4 billion package of security assistance. I've also directed the Pentagon to allocate all the remaining security assistance funding that has been appropriated to Ukraine, period, by the end of my term, which is January 20.
This means $2.4 billion in security assistance through the Ukraine Security Assistance Initiative and $5.5 billion through the Presidential Drawdown Authority. Through the PDA, the U.S. can deliver surplus weapons held by the U.S. to Ukraine without congressional approval. The latest assistance, announced by Biden, will provide Ukraine with much-needed air defenses, unmanned aerial systems, and air-to-ground munitions while strengthening Ukraine's defense industry base. The military assistance will also include a shipment of precision-guided glide weapons with a range of up to 130 kilometers. The medium-range missile will provide a major upgrade in Ukraine's fight against Russia. In response, President Zelensky thanked his U.S. counterpart for the continued support.
We deeply appreciate that Ukraine and America have stood side by side from the very first moments of this terrible Russian invasion. Your determination is incredibly important for us to prevail.
However, despite the latest assistance, a U.S. official stressed that Biden will not allow Ukraine to use U.S. missiles to hit targets deeper inside Russia. 이승재, Arirang News.
For the first time in nearly 4 decades, South Korea and Japan are resuming their talks on joint development of an underwater continental shelf believed to hold vast deposits of oil and natural resources. Our foreign affairs correspondent Helene reports. The Joint Development Zone is an area that has been at the center of maritime disputes between South Korea and Japan. Located south of Jeju Island, it's about 124 times the size of Seoul and lies in the waters between the two countries. A treaty was signed back in 1974 to designate the zone as a shared area for petroleum and natural gas exploration, based on analysis suggesting that the underwater continental shelf may hold a significant amount of oil and other minerals. Under the agreement, exploration and development require both nations' consent. But little development has been made in this area, as Japan made little effort to engage in joint exploration. Talks on the agreement have been suspended since 1985, with Japan having been lukewarm about moving forward with the pact. But for the first time in nearly 40 years, officials from the two countries are set to hold working-level talks on the issue in Tokyo on Friday. It will be led by Hwang Jun-sik, Director General for International Legal Affairs from South Korea's Foreign Ministry, and Akihiro Okuchi, Deputy Director General for Asian and Oceanian Affairs from Japan's Foreign Ministry. Some experts in South Korea believe Japan is waiting for the agreement to expire so that it can seize the area for itself. This is because changes to the international law in the early 1980s favor a midline border between the two countries, likely benefiting Japan, as the JDZ lies more than 90% inside of Japan's exclusive economic zone, weakening South Korea's claims to the area. The JDZ agreement is set to expire in 2028, and either of the two countries can confirm their intention to terminate the pact, starting June next year. But Seoul's foreign ministry claims even after the expiration of the agreement, neither South Korea nor Japan will have the right to develop the region without joint consent, as the area will be left as an undelimited maritime area, and has been urging Japan to pursue joint exploration. 배은지, Arirang News. Voting is well underway over in Japan, where the country's ruling political party, the Liberal Democratic Party, is picking its new leader. That will give a clear picture of who will replace Prime Minister Fumio Kishida. For more, let's turn to Professor Kim Mi-kyung this morning. Welcome back, Professor Kim.
Thank you. Great to be with you.
First off, please walk us through how the LDP's voting process works in Japan.
It's actually rather complicated, and let me try to explain in brief terms. Mm-hmm. Candidates must be serving LDP lawmakers of national diet, either of House of Representatives or House of Councilors. They need at least 20 nominations from other LDP lawmakers to qualify, and this year's election actually has the record of 9 candidates in LDP's history vying for the leadership positions. So this is the most crowded election in LDP's history. In the first round of votes, this will involve 2 rounds of vote because of the high number of candidates. In the first round of votes, the candidates are vying for 736 votes. Lawmakers cast half of these votes at 368, and the same proportion is applied to the LDP dues-paying membership. So whoever garners more than 50% of these votes become Japan's next prime minister.
Right.
But because of the high number of contenders, this is not going to happen. So runoff is going to take place between 2 top contenders. And in the second round of votes, lawmakers will cast the same number of votes as the first round, but the membership, LDP membership, will vote only 47%, representing the same number of prefectures in Japan. So it is weighted towards the lawmakers in the decision-making process.
Right, it is highly likely that there will be a runoff. Now, there are 9 contenders, but there are 3 main contenders in the election. Now, these are former Defense Chief Shigeru Ishiba, rising and youngest contender Shinjiro Koizumi, and Economic Security Minister Sanae Takaichi. Let's talk about Ishiba and Takaichi first. What backgrounds do they come from?
Oh, Ishiba Shigeru, he is a seasoned politician. He became a politician at the age of 38 in 1986. Before he joined politics, he was a banker, and he served as defense minister. And he declared that his candidacy this year is going to be the final bid for the leadership position. This is because he failed in the previous 4 attempts to become the leader of LDP. In terms of his policy platform, he advocates the reduction of Japan's dependence on nuclear energy, and he advocates the creation of Asian version of NATO, and he supports the amendment of peace constitution, and he supports separate family name legislation, and he tries to increase real wages, and he wants the Japanese economy exit from deflation. On a personal note, he is known to have quite a dry sense of humor. For instance, some of his supporters said that his facial expression is scary sometimes. Then he replied that, oh, there is nothing I can do about it, but I'll try to smile a little bit more. And another element in this election process is that he is not terribly popular among his colleagues at the National Diet. He is not a very personable man. So when it comes down to the second round of voting, given his lack of popularity vis-a-vis his contenders, the outcome is kind of hard to predict.
Well, Professor Kim, you do have to tell us about Takaichi as well.
Yeah, Takaichi Sanae, she is a female.
Right.
And if she wins this bid, she is going to make history by becoming the first female Japanese prime minister. She is very, very conservative. She is an ardent loyalist to Abe doctrine, and she is known to have close allies with right-wing camps such as Sakai Yoshiko, and who is a member of Japan Conference, a very symbolic and powerful and influential institution representing and formulating Japan's ultra-conservative ideology. And she is 63 years of age, and she also supports amendment of pacifist constitution, and she opposes separate surname legislation and same-sex marriage. And she supports nuclear energy, and she is very, very hawkish towards China. And she is a regular visitor of Yasukuni Shrine, where the war dead, the deceased from the war, are buried, where Class ABC criminals are enshrined. So she is going to be a very hawkish and conservative, and she is going to strengthen nationalistic ideology by trying to revise the contents of history textbooks and try to instill patriotic sentiment among the Japanese people.
Right. And there's also Shinjiro Koizumi, who would be Japan's youngest post-war leader. But what's notable is that none of these 3 contenders have, specifically mentioned about South Korea-Japan relations. Let's talk about that before I let you go.
Actually, Koizumi Shinjiro has mentioned his plan to visit his plans to meet with the leaders of North Korea, South Korea, and China if he's elected as Japan's prime minister. So South Korea and the matters of Korean Peninsula have been an issue, but compared to other issues such as collective security alliance with the U.S. and how to contain and deal with aggressive China when it comes down to territorial issues, Korean issues have been relegated to the margin, but it has been talked about. And as I mentioned, Koichimi Shinjiro proposed to meet with Kim Jong-un, for instance.
Alrighty, Professor Kim, thank you so much for your time and insight this morning. You have a lovely day.
My pleasure. You too.
President Yoon Suk-yeol has launched an AI committee to build the nation's AI policies and vision as the country injects billions in hopes of becoming a major AI powerhouse. Our correspondent Oh Soo-young spoke with the president's secretary for AI to hear how South Korea will be leading the digital transformation.
South Korea will take the lead in innovating and shaping the future of artificial intelligence to benefit humanity. That's according to Presidential Secretary for AI and Digital Lee Kyung-woo in an interview with Arirang TV. As AI sweeps across all industries and areas of society, Lee says South Korea has a plan to secure its position as one of the world's top 3 countries leading the transformative technology.
First off, we'll develop a comprehensive AI ecosystem. AI ecosystem is composed of several sectors, such as semiconductors like processors and memories, platforms or software frameworks, consumer and industrial products for on-device AI, and AI services and applications. Indeed, South Korea is one of the countries to have a unique ecosystem including all of these sectors. To secure position among the top 3 global AI leaders, we must elevate several South Korean companies to the forefront of their respective sectors.
On Thursday, President Yoon Suk-yeol launched a committee on AI made up of top industry experts and senior public officials to establish a national vision and framework for promoting innovation and private sector-driven growth.
Well, you're known to be South Korea's top scientist in the field of AI with corporate experience as well. And what kind of strengths do you think South Korea has in the field of AI, and how should such advantages be leveraged?
Yes, South Korea has a robust AI industry already with several achievements. For instance, South Korea introduced the world's first high bandwidth memory, or HBM, and has established itself as a global leader in semiconductor sector. In addition, Korea was the 3rd country in the world to launch generative AI services with large language models. The country has developed a distinctive AI ecosystem, as I mentioned earlier. Furthermore, its strong manufacturing sector helps quickly integrate AI into products like smartphones, cars, and home appliances. By leveraging these strengths to advance research and development and business models across various sectors, South Korea is well positioned to compete effectively on the global stage.
But with concerns about how AI could potentially be used, a global rulebook is needed. Since taking office in 2022, President Yoon Suk-yeol has highlighted the need for new standards and norms to ensure AI does not infringe on privacy, safety, or other individual interests. The South Korean leader declared a digital Bill of Rights at the UN General Assembly last year.
This initiative emphasizes 5 core values: freedom, fairness, safety, innovation, and solidarity, with the aim of creating a brighter digital future for all. We are at a point where we need to maximize the innovative value brought by AI while minimizing its potential side effects and misuse through various efforts. We anticipate that AI will serve as a crucial key to ensuring in an era of shaped prosperity for humanity. Korea will take the lead in establishing a model AI society and will contribute by sharing its achievements with the international community.
Secretary for AI and Digital, Dr. Lee Kyung-woo, thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you.
Good morning, I'm Kim Seong, and this is The World Now. We begin today in the US, where New York City Mayor Eric Adams has been indicted on 5 federal public corruption charges, including bribery, soliciting campaign contributions from foreign nationals, and wire fraud, according to a federal indictment unsealed on Thursday. According to the 57-page indictment, Adams is under fire for alleged illegal actions stretching back to 2014, following a long-running investigation that has sent the New York City government into turmoil in recent days. The indictment reads that for nearly a decade, Adams sought and accepted improper valuable benefits such as luxury international travel, including from wealthy foreign business people and at least one Turkish government official seeking to gain influence over him. The indictment stated that Adams previously accepted over $100,000 in luxury benefits in exchange for later pressuring the NYC Fire Department to open a 36-story Turkish consular building without a fire inspection. According to Damian Williams, the U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of New York, Mayor Adams has been engaged in a long-running conspiracy, specifically saying that the New York City mayor knowingly took illegal contributions. The 64-year-old Adams said on Thursday morning that he wasn't surprised by the charges and asked the public to wait to hear a defense before making any judgments, adding that he will continue with his day-to-day duties. Now, Adams' first court appearance is scheduled at noon on Friday. Hurricane Helene, expected to make landfall in a few hours in Florida, U.S., has exploded into a Category 4 storm with wind speeds of 210 kilometers per hour as Florida state issues a number of mandatory evacuation orders, bracing for the hurricane officials have called catastrophic and unsurvivable. The latest updates show that the storm was around 200 kilometers west of Tampa and 260 kilometers south of Tallahassee as the hurricane traveled northeast to the Florida Big Bend at around 40 kilometers per hour. A storm surge warning has been issued to cover almost the entire west coast of Florida as the National Weather Service warned of unsurvivable water surges of up to 6.1 meters in areas such as Apalachee Bay. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis said on Thursday that the state has prepared resources to immediately respond to the aftermath of Helene, while encouraging residents to evacuate while there is still time. A state of emergency has been declared in 61 of Florida's 67 counties, alongside the evacuation orders. An 88-year-old Japanese man, who is also the world's longest-serving death row inmate, was acquitted on Thursday after serving 45 years following a wrongful conviction of murdering 4 people nearly 60 years ago. The Shizuoka District Court cleared Iwao Hakamada's name in a retrial of quadruple murders that took place in central Japan back in 1966. Hakamada, a former professional boxer, was working at a miso processing plant in 1966 when the bodies of his employer and his family, the wife and 2 children, all of whom were stabbed to death, were recovered from a fire at their home in West Tokyo. While Hakamada was sentenced to death in 1968, he was not executed due to appeals and the retrial process led by his now 91-year-old sister, Hideko, who has been caring for her brother since his provisional release from jail in 2014. Now, Japan's notorious prosecutors' 99% conviction rate and its slow-paced criminal justice system meant that it took Hakamada 27 years for even his first appeal for a retrial to be denied. Now, Amnesty International celebrated Hakamada's exoneration, calling it a pivotal moment for justice.
Good morning. Unusual September warmth continues today across Korea, except on the East Coast, where rain is in the forecast for most of the day. Easterly winds will bring downpours to eastern parts of Gangwon-do province from this morning, lashing down up to 100 millimeters into Saturday. Meanwhile, inland regions will see 5 to 20 millimeters of passing showers during the day today. It could pour down once it starts to rain, but this won't affect our top temperatures that much. So that means we'll enjoy a summer-like afternoon. Most regions seeing highs of 28 degrees Celsius this afternoon. Skies will be mostly sunny when it does not rain, while air quality will be normal to good nationwide. Fine early autumn weather is in the forecast for the weekend under brighter skies. Then rain next Tuesday will bring an autumn chill to the country with a huge drop in temperatures. That's Korea for you, and here's a look at the international weather conditions.
We thank you for watching New Day at Arirang. Arirang News will be back at noon Korea time. Until then, goodbye.